Good morning, everyone. This is Maria Calvo, Business Development and Customer Experience Director at Impact Hub Madrid. Welcome to the Ask Me Anything session of the Cartier Women's Initiative. I would like to greet all the Impact Hub members for joining us today in this webinar. It really is a pleasure for us to help spread the word within our community of entrepreneurs. We would like to take this opportunity to wish good luck to all the applicants of this amazing project, which supports and empowers women entrepreneurship. Please let me introduce you to Wingee Sampaio, Global Program Director at Cartier Women's Initiative, who is going to moderate the session. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Maria. And thank you for everyone for dialing in today and learning about our program. So my name is Wingee Sampaio, and I'm the Global Program Director for the Cartier Women Initiative. And we're thrilled to be here today to share with you about our current application cycle. So today I'm joined here today with Dimple, who is on our European jury for the Cartier Women Initiative. Dimple is a venture capitalist, an entrepreneur, an impact investor, and a family office executive. And we have had the pleasure of her expertise joining with us as part of the European region. We also have with us Tracy, who is the founder and CEO of Vivid Edge. And Tracy is our 2019 Cartier Women Initiative Fellow. So welcome, Dimple and Tracy.
Thank you. Thank you.
So just a few quick housekeeping. Feel free to type your questions in the Q&A box as part of Zoom, and then share any comments or feedback in the comment section. You will receive a LinkedIn invitation at the end of this Ask Me Anything session to join our LinkedIn group, which is comprised of all the 2021 applicants. And here you can ask questions and also discuss and network with other applicants. Our next applicant workshop is on July 2nd at 10 a.m. CEST time. And at the end of today's session, which will end officially at 11 a.m., actually a few of our Cartier Women Initiative team members, Meng and Gabrielle, will still be online to answer any of your questions on the Zoom call if there's any outstanding ones that we weren't able to address during the session. So with that, I just want to take a few minutes to tell you a bit about the Cartier Women Initiative. The vision of the Cartier Women Initiative is a world in which every woman entrepreneur driving change can achieve her full potential. We have been running the initiative for about 14 years now, and in this current edition, it will be our 15th year. So we're extremely excited. Our awards is sort of split into 7 regional awards categories, as well as 1 new category that is a global category that focuses on science and technology pioneering women. So very exciting for us because now we have 8 categories and are recognizing and having 24 fellows within our program. So let me tell you a bit about who should apply. First, maybe let's start with the regional awards, which has the same eligibility criteria. The regional awards cover the 7 regions of the world. Here we're looking for for-profit businesses, businesses that have had revenue generation for 1 year plus, have raised less than 2 million in diluted funding, and it's between 1 to 5 years of license operation. And so here we are focused basically on early stage businesses that have had a little bit of traction in terms of their product market fit. We're also specifically focused on women that have created a business, that are leveraging business as a force for good. So solving one of the UN SDG goals. They have to be English proficient because the program is in English, and age 18 and above, and have a little bit of time during the program cycle to spend with us, because during the program cycle, we will be deploying a lot of human capital support as well as social capital support to you. And so to take advantage of all the resources that we can provide you, it does require a bit of commitment, and we roughly estimate it at around 4 hours per week during the duration of the fellowship. This could be plus or minus depending on the timing, but the time commitment is roughly about that. The selection criteria. So we have 7 selection criteria for the regional award. The first one is market analysis and fit. Here we're looking for businesses that are solving, that is operating in a large and unmet need in a growing industry. They have identified competitive advantage, and they have achieved some form of product market fit. Second is that we're looking for sustainable business and financial model. And so here we're looking for sustainable profitability and cash flow. And so here we'll be looking at your projections and sort of also taking a look at what your realized revenue has been, and rather the source of revenue and etc. We're looking for also potentially high percentage of repeat clients and a strong lifetime value of client. We also are focused on perhaps the sales cycle of your business, and rather you have realistic expectation on how long the sales cycle is for your sales funnel. The third criteria we're looking at is around leadership team and character of the founder. And here, the leadership skill set characteristics, we're focused on someone who has high integrity, some relevant experience in the past, proven execution, excellence, and a really sort of a humble and nimble approach to managing a team. We are also looking for someone who has value alignment with the Cartier values. And so Cartier's values are curiosity, open-mindedness, generosity, sharing, respect, rigor, and independence. And so these are the characteristics of the leadership team and also character of the founder that we're looking for. The other four criteria are strategy and execution. And so here we want to look for a business that have been thinking about how they are going to develop their growth plan and how they plan to scale. Rather, their KPIs have been defined and how they plan to revisit those KPIs so that they are constantly trying to reach for those different milestones. We're looking for embedded positive social impact. And this is really important for us because we are looking for businesses that have the intention of driving social change, as well as have thought about how they're going to achieve those social and environmental impact goals as part of their KPIs. And we would like that to be embedded within the business model and embedded within sort of the DNA of the company. 6 is called quality of submission. And so during the different phases of the program, there will be currently initially it will be the application form. And so we want to make sure the application form is written in a short and succinct manner and clear. And then 7 is commitment to the Cartier Women Initiative. Here we're looking for fellows who are really committed to the vision of the Cartier Women Initiative, which is one that is supportive of other women impact entrepreneurs. And so you have to value also, being in the presence of a community and also specifically a sisterhood of other women impact entrepreneurs that can be supportive of each other and encouraging each other in their entrepreneurship journey. And of course, we are also looking for people who have the ability to really leverage the resources that we will be providing them. The next, I'm going to cover a bit the eligibility criteria of the Science and Technology Pioneer Award. And this is a brand new award for us this year. And in this program, it's our first time covering global entrepreneurs. So this award category is focused on the Science and Technology Pioneer, woman, and anyone from any parts of the world is eligible to apply. And here we're focused on technological and scientific innovation. And what we mean by that is that we are looking for women who are leveraging deep tech technology to advance the technological frontier. And as a result, some of these criteria are, as you can see, will be different than the regional awards because we expect that businesses in this category will have a very strong research base, will have heavy industrialization processes, they will have very large investment needs, and they will also have potentially a yet to be defined commercial application. But here we want to acknowledge the remarkable work that women technologists and scientists are doing in really being part of a world where this type of innovation is very much needed. And maybe also one quick note about this category also is that if you were someone who is doing disruption on a business model, you probably are better fit for the regional award. But if you were someone who is inventive of a scientific technology or a type of science or pushing science to a new frontier, you'd be a better candidate for this award. We are looking for for-profit businesses also, and then we're looking for early stage businesses. And here we define early stage business as a minimum technology readiness level of 4. And the technology readiness level is components of a measurement system that was invented by NASA. And on our website, you'll see the full definition of all of the different levels. But basically, a level of 4 means that you have had some prototype that is proven in the laboratory environment, and your business is further along than that. You have met, your business is also designed to meet one of the UN SDG goals, so have had some form of social and environmental impact. You're English proficient, and then you are also 18 years old and above, and again have a bit of time that you can spend with us during the program to really leverage all the resources that we want to share with you. The selection criteria for this category is also a little bit different. I will just maybe highlight the ones that are different. So number 1 is technological innovation. And so as mentioned earlier, this is because we are focused on the innovativeness of the technology. Here it will be evaluated based on that. We are focusing on how you have thought about your research, the impact of that technology, and etc. The second criteria is market and access strategy. And so here we are looking for similar characteristics such as large market and a competitive advantage. But in this category of selection criteria, we have also included a validated market access strategy. And so, as I mentioned earlier, probably it is challenging for the business to have already reached a very further along commercial cycle. And so as a result, you can see that in this category of award, we are not asking for 1 year of revenue. And so instead, we are looking for a validated market access strategy. Number 3, in terms of the selection criteria, is business model sustainability and validated development plan. And here, we're looking for you to have thought through a bit about how you're leveraging business as a force for good and to scale and deploy the science and technology that you have pioneered. Number 4, embedded social impact and environmental impact. And so this is the same as the other category. And in general, 5, which is leadership and characteristics, quality and submission, and commitment to the Cartier Women Initiative, also is the same as the regional category. So with that, I'm going to stop our presentation here and speak with our 2 guest speakers today. And share with them a bit about, let them share a bit about their experience with the Cartier Women Initiative. And so maybe I will start with Tracy. Welcome, Tracy.
Thanks, Wingee. Lovely to see you again. How are you?
I'm very good. It's really good to see you too. Can you share with us a bit about Vivid Edge first and maybe what you've been up to with the business?
I will, of course, and I'm going to naughtily throw in 2 other things first. I mean, I've got to know Wingee very, very well. This program it's actually a new community, a new part of my life, and has continued to be since the program. Wingee is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the caliber of people involved in the program is absolutely second to none. And Wingee has become a dear friend through the whole process, as well as somebody who's been an incredible support. So that this is not just you go in, you do your 12 weeks and you leave. It's something much deeper than that. And then the second thing I'm going to boldly hijack your agenda is just to say, when you were going through the criteria there, I felt so totally daunted, and I thought, well, I could do probably most of those. That when you put everything together, it's just, oh my goodness me, my immediate reaction was that there's probably people out there who are far stronger than I am. And then I think, oh my goodness, no, I actually met the criteria. And I'm saying this because as women, that's our typical reaction, is to actually find the reasons, to immediately think there's somebody better, and you kind of focus on why you can't rather than how you can. And I really just want to encourage people not to be daunted by that menu, and to really just stop and pause and examine it. And to really, for me, what got me over that was 2 things: our purpose, and also when I found out a little bit about the program, I just really, really wanted to be part of it. So that overcame those feelings that we naturally have as women, have been a little bit daunted by something that is so impressive. So I just want to reassure on those 2 points, Wingee. First of all, but at Vivid Edge, I'm in Ireland, and we're helping climate action through energy efficiency. And I worked in the corporate world for many years in banking and finance and then aircraft leasing. which is probably the complete opposite of what I'm doing now. And I just thought that I wondered whether we could have a much more innovative way of funding energy efficiency than some of the current models. So what we're doing is we're delivering energy efficiency as a service. And the problem that we're solving is that there's not enough investment going into energy efficiency. And if you think about it, big, large multinational businesses, they have an awful lot that works very well. I think there's a bit of noise there, actually. Is somebody clanking away, or could you go on mute perhaps if yeah, thank you. So what we're doing is a lot of people, a lot of big businesses don't have the capital, or they have equipment that absolutely works fine. It might be air conditioning, for example, but it's just not as efficient as it might be. We deliver it as a service. We bring capital, we bring risk expertise, and our model is simple. Behind it is quite a smart innovation in how we deal with risk and finance. But we simply pay for an upgrade, charge a monthly service fee, and the energy savings more than cover our fee. So for the businesses, it's really a free upgrade of their premises, of their processes, and it's encouraging large businesses to invest much more than they have been doing in energy efficiency. So that's what we do, Wingee.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tracy. And maybe tell us a bit about your experience with the Cartier Women Initiative. You know, when were you a part of the program? What did you feel like? And you know, what have you gained from the program?
Absolutely. I'd say it was exhilarating and exhausting in equal measures. I mean, the excitement of being selected, and I remember I was sitting in a board meeting. I'm a board director of a company here, when the message came through, and I remember giving a little squeal. I was so delighted. It was just in the run up to Christmas. The things that, you know, the strong memories are just this overwhelming sense of support and validation from, you know, there's some very large, incredible organizations involved in the program, you know, between INSEAD and Cartier and you know, some of the other participants as well. So that validation and then that sense of community are the things that really, you know, resonate with me. And, you know, the program runs for about 12 weeks before you get to meet the other finalists. So, but we were meeting them on social media and through, you know, various calls. So it was just so exciting to meet them in person. It was like having a pen friend, you know, and then finally getting together. So just absolutely phenomenal. And I've taken part in a number of different programs. This is just in a completely different league to anything I've participated in, you know, in the quality of the overall program.
Great. Well, thank you, Tracy. We were very lucky to have you also. It was so fun. Yes, I remember our times in San Francisco together.
Oh, it's super. So very fond memories. Yeah, terrific.
So Tracy, I mean, like, you clearly have started your business as a force for good. What advice might you have for other women entrepreneurs who are doing the same in their work?
I think so. Like, I really think it's about holding on to your vision. In any business, there are just so many obstacles, and I think, you know, when you set out as an entrepreneur, you have your vision, but the roadmap is not clear. And if you think it's clear, it's probably going to dramatically change. So, and there are an awful lot of hedges to jump over, fences to jump over along the way. And I think each obstacle is really just a learning, and it's about not to be daunted from continuing to pursue your goal. Like that's the most important thing. And if you find that circumstances or people are not really helping you get where you want to get to, or some of them might even be blocking you, just step aside, find a different way. It's all about navigating obstacles, in my experience. And we've navigated very many, and we've achieved the impossible, and we've got a fantastic story to tell in so many different ways. And there are still obstacles at this time. This is a particularly challenging time for early stage businesses around the world. But I believe, you know, we grow stronger, and I believe new opportunities come up if we can just tune into them. But when you operate from fear, it's a terrible place to operate from, and you never find the right way forward. So it's sort of moving into sort of a certainty, and knowing that you are doing something that is worth sticking this out. It's worth the goal. And when you get into that mindset, you're much more in tune to the opportunities around you. I really believe there's opportunities around us all the time. all the time, and they're often, I remember, you know, when I couldn't get funding in Ireland, you know, you're reaching out to America, but like, you know, really, one of the things I've really discovered is the best opportunities are through your own network and in the people around you. And sometimes you think they're running dry, but just stick with them and keep working around it. I think that's the best place really to, you know, to start growing and to expand. And then by all means, then of course there's time to move international. But you know, there's so much around us, you know, and be tuned to us.
Great. Well, thank you, Tracy. Well, maybe I will move on to Dimple. So she, as the European jury member, can share with us also a bit about her experience. Dimple, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your work as an impact investor?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Wingee. And like Tracy, I've known Wingee for a long time. So through serendipity, we were reintroduced, and we were both expats who lived in the Bay Area and impact investing for the last 13 years and worked for a wide array of firms on the West Coast, in London, also in Asia. And now I work for a very wealthy Dutch family for their private family office. And this family has been a business as a force for good for over 200 years with their privately held company. And so they want to spur other social entrepreneurs that also want to be business as a force for good. And at this platform, I invest in funds that invest in social entrepreneurs. So I'm 1 degree removed. But in order to do due diligence on the funds, I meet a lot of the underlying companies and social entrepreneurs. And it goes without saying that many of the companies with diverse management teams, and let's define diverse in a diverse way, including gender, tend to perform better. So Indigenous entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, because of their management skills and just understanding of the business models and really ability to multitask and manage things and execute. So it's been a really great experience. I've been here in Europe 5+ years, and it was my first year with the Cartier Women's Initiative.
Great. Well, we're very lucky to have you, Dimple. I feel like you have helped us plugged in so much in the European ecosystem of impact investor and other women who are doing remarkable work supporting women impact entrepreneurs. So thank you. So tell us maybe a bit about, like, so now you have been with us for 1 year as part of the initiative as the European jury. What would you say is something remarkable that you have noticed amongst the applicants, the women applicants into the program?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, in the European region, we saw submissions from the Netherlands, from Sweden, from Norway, I think those were the 3 major geographies that I remember. I think there were a couple from the UK as well. So I'd love to see more from Spain and Portugal for all of you that are on this call.
Yes.
Another region. And the women came in really all shapes and sizes, ages, level of sophistication in terms of the application you read on paper are also not necessarily the entrepreneurs that make it into the finals. So you definitely should prepare a strong application, a written application with all the components. But I think how you present yourself in person is equally as important. And if you can convey who you are and your product, and if it's a tech product, have something like a demo prepared so we can actually experience the technology. So I think the combination of how you present is important as what you present.
Yes, I couldn't agree more, for sure. I think this year, in the past edition, actually, the one that we have just concluded virtually, for everyone's reference, we had, I think our youngest fellow in the program was 24, and our oldest fellow in the program was 60, which we really love the fact of women from all walks of life starting impact entrepreneurship and beginning their journey and being part of our community. So it was amazing. And I believe you're also right to correct, in Europe, our region for this edition currently was much more focused. There was a lot of Nordic applicants, and so it would be terrific to see more folks from Spain and also from Portugal. And in fact, right before we were starting this webinar, we were trying to count the number of past Spanish fellows, and we actually currently have had no fellows from Portugal. We've had applications from Portugal, but none that has made it to the top. So we would love to see more applicants from these 2 countries, for sure. Dimple, what do you think is the most important selection criteria of the initiative. So we just went over the 7 criteria for the regional award and also the 7 for the science and technology pioneer one. One might, from your perspective, which one is the most important and how do you think about them? And if there's any notes for the entrepreneurs that they should think about when they're applying and thinking about their business.
Yes. So, I mean, I think for me, I'm totally biased, of course, because I'm an impact investor, but for me, the most important dimension is the impact of what differentiates all of you. So when you talk about how you're measuring the impact, so outputs, outcomes, think about case studies, think about for dimensions and consequences of the impact that you're having. And if I use something like renewable energy and a project as an example, sometimes where you place the project, right? You might be displacing Indigenous people. You might have, child labor in your supply chain. So I think it's also incredibly powerful to think about impact risk as well. So, everything you would explain in finance, financial upside, a base case, a downside, financial risk, use those same dimensions to think about impact because it's even more nuanced, but it's also as rich. So, think about how you're going to measure the impact in a realistic way, and not just putting kids into school, but are they actually learning and how you plan to measure that. So I think that's really, really key. And I think one of the feedback that we gave as a jury to Wingee and her team is that the weighting for that dimension should also be a little bit higher. So that the barrier to entry, want more and more impactful companies.
Terrific. Well, thank you, Dimple. Yes, and for those of you who are maybe need some support around how to think about impact, on our website, cartierwomeninitiative.com, there's resources for the application, and certainly there's a module on thinking about theory of change and also how to start an impact metrics model. And so, you can leverage those resources to think through what your current impact model is and what your current theory of change is, so that you can, in advance of preparing for your application. And for us, we're very focused on the intent of impact, and certainly via the fellowship program, you'll get a lot of support on how to refine in thinking about your impact model and your metrics. So with that, perhaps we should move on to the Q&A session, because I do see quite a few open questions at the moment in our Q&A box. And so our first question is from Romy. Hello, Romy. Romy says, hello, thanks for this opportunity. I have a potential candidate that has run into a difficulty. The company is 100% ownership of another company which belongs to 100% to the candidate privately. There's no company in between and no other shareholder involved in the structure. Should she then answer unsure and specify, or just no under question 19, which is your venture a subsidiary or spinoff of an existing business, a sole proprietorship, or a franchise? This is an eligibility question. And I think if I understand you correctly, Romy, I guess the company that wants to apply is a subsidiary of another company. But the company, the parent company, is owned entirely also by the applicant herself. I guess my question might be actually rather the parent company qualifies for the eligibility criteria and why she's not applying via the parent company. But in general, we are and I think if the parent company is eligible, I would suggest you leverage the parent company entity to apply to the program. And if there's any more sort of nuance around that, please feel free to sort of send on an inquiry to the Cartier Women Initiative inbox on the application. I think it sounds like it's a little bit more nuanced to sort of provide a generic answer on this webinar. Our second question is from Tree. So thank you for this webinar and opportunity. Is there any flexibility around the requirements of 1 year revenue? My company is still pre-revenue and I feel I need the support precisely to get the sales funnel going. This is also a eligibility criteria question. Unfortunately, there is no flexibility around the 1 year revenue requirement. And the reason we focus on that is because we want to make sure you have had some traction and can prove some form of product market fit. And this is important for us to evaluate your business on its business model and financial sustainability and how you think about it. Also, we have found that our program is more appropriately designed for someone who have had some traction. And that is why we are focused on this segment of the early entrepreneurship journey. Our next question is, how many applications did you receive from Africa previously? From Joyce. Roughly for the sub-Saharan Africa region, we did receive about, I want to say 120, 150 applications from the last edition. We did get many people who started the application form, but perhaps after either checking some of the questions or eligibility criteria, decides not to continue in completing the form. And so I would encourage everyone who, if they have the gumption to start the process, to sort of finish it. And because as Tracy says, I think you'll never know. I think sometimes we personally may have circumstances that are thinking that we may not be as qualified, but we would love to hear from you. All right. Okay. Here's a question from Cheng Lee. Hello, I'm Cheng, a potential applicant based in Barcelona, Spain. Yay! And my core team are mostly Chinese, Spanish, and Latin American women. Our organization is Global Volunteer Alliances Against COVID-19, born since the outbreak in Wuhan. Now we're serving doctors from over 40 countries with cross-border information sharing in 3 languages, Chinese, Spanish, and English. We are aimed to create an unbiased and independent global medical knowledge sharing platform and community. We are now digital transformation partner for several hospitals in Spain. And I have a question regarding the application criteria regarding the for-profit and non-profit organization. So this is also eligibility criteria. And Ching, I think you haven't quite finished your question yet, but my guess is you're asking rather nonprofit organization might qualify. And here our program is focused on for-profit businesses. And mainly because the genesis of the program is around leveraging business as a force for good. And so we are hoping to share with the world about the importance of leveraging entrepreneurship to create social and environmental change. And this is why we're focused on the for-profit business model from that angle. Here's a question from Joanna. And perhaps Dimple, you can help us answer this. She wants to know, do you tend to favor application with strong revenue numbers?
Well, I think it's hard to, I mean, in all things being equal, yes, of course. But that's a very one-dimensional question, so I can't, but the answer is multidimensional. So if you have strong revenue, but you're having low impact and you don't have a strong team, and you're obviously executing well, but at the expense of other dimensions of your business, then I think as a whole, that will affect it. So we don't look at revenue in isolation, but of course, if you have all the other dimensions, your strategy, your execution, your team, your impact, and financial viability, then yeah. Because I think a lot of times people just focus on the top numbers. And we all know there are many unsuccessful companies that have had strong revenues, but have imploded for a whole host of other reasons. So that alone is not enough. But yes, make sure all elements of your business is strong. And if you can show strong revenue that people are actually willing to pay for the product and service you're providing, then yes.
Thank you. And perhaps also just to add on more to Dimple's comment, while, I think you'll see in the application form, it asks for total revenue, and then it also asks for your margins and your EBITDA. And so while we are focused on early stage business, we're looking for you having at least 1 year revenue. You don't have to be profitable to apply, right? We certainly understand that in early stage of business, as you scale up, you are going to experience a period of unprofitability, and until you get there, but what we're looking for really is how you plan to get there in terms of your break-even point and profitability and all of that. And Tracy, do you have any insight to share about this idea of total revenue, financial sustainability for the applicants? I think as someone in the program, I think that is always something that I think entrepreneurs are thinking a lot about. And
yeah, And I've got quite a strong finance background. I think that was maybe unusual. I think you had said in the group or of applicants, so that kind of very much my space. I always think of it about telling your story, and so for us, obviously, we had some good early revenue. We were pre-break even, so not yet profitable, but we have a very clear line of sight as to how we're going to get there. So to me, I do have a finance background. The numbers have to tell the story, and what you need to do is you need to tell your story, and then you need to kind of try and tell it in as simpler way as possible. So if your route to break even is an extra 300,000 of revenue, so how many customers times how many products, and kind of break it down that way. Just really paint the picture where we're going to connect with 10 new customers, and then they're going to do this, that, and the other, and how long is that going to take, and then what will you need to get there. So it's try and translate that into the story, because the jury, ultimately you win the hearts and minds of the jury by, I imagine, Dimple, by saying, look, by having a compelling and exciting business, by being able to describe the impact. Like for us, if we do an upgrade in a building, that's equivalent to saving, say one big lighting upgrade, that's equivalent to saving the energy for 350 homes for 1 year. That makes it real. So being able to sort of say what the impact is worth. And then in terms of your story, it's really convincing the jury that you have a viable business and that you have a sense of where you're headed, even though there are various unknowns, So we need so many more customers to break even. We mightn't have identified them yet, but this is what we're doing to get there. These are the channels that we're doing to pursue them. And you kind of paint the picture of what that journey looks like in principle. So if you can spell that out as clearly as possible, I think the jury then can understand what it is you're trying to do, and broadly your plan to get there, but breaking it into make it into a story.
We have another revenue question from Mariana. So her business already generates revenue. However, she's just starting now generating revenue with her new business model. Should she wait to apply next year once she has revenue from the new model? Dimple, what would you say from a jury perspective?
Well, I don't think, I don't know how the magnitude of her revenues or anything like that. I would say, you should always apply when you think your application is at its strongest. And again, the revenue is just one of the many dimensions. So even if you can show a path to your new revenue model and you've already experienced some traction, because every year the composition of the candidate pool also changes. So you could be a strong candidate this year, but not be as strong next year. So I think it really depends, but get some, if you have mentors or advisors, or even people at the Impact Hub if you're there, or look at the application. That we never look at revenue in isolation. The winner of the European region this did, and it became the invert. So while she was in the application process, her business model was changing. And she ended up winning. If that makes sense.
Yes. Well, thank you, Dimple. Terrific. All right. Here we have a question from Margot. Hi. So I started my company as a brick and mortar based delivery model offering services in person, and over time it evolved into an education, technology, and digital delivery method. I've generated roughly 300K in revenue under the old revenue model. Though I only have an MVP with my ed tech and digital delivery model, would you want to see more revenue generated with the new delivery model in order to be eligible? I suppose this is a little bit similar to the prior question, Dimple. And I guess maybe in general for the applicants that are for Margot. I think you're eligible, but I think what you're asking now is in terms of the selection criteria that Dimple was sort of sharing with you across a 7-dimension, how she would evaluate your application. Dimple, what would you say in regards to Margot's specific situation? I guess it looks like she has a new model that is that's more in the MVP stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing we would also, if it's too early stage, if it's only MVP and you only have beta clients or customers, no one has started paying for your product. And so I think that might be a little, but it seems like it's a little bit earlier in terms of product development. Even if you have a prototype, there's some traction. So if you have an MVP, but you can still show traction even with beta customers. And again, there's a path to how you're going to get more commercial. Then I think, you know, you might, if and the other dimensions of your business are very strong, then, you know, you might still be able to be eligible, I guess. I mean, I think bottom line, ladies, it never hurts to apply. So the market will give you feedback, you know? So if the world is changing so fast every day, every quarter. So if you think this is your best year and you're really focused on this and you have time to be cerebral because you're working from home and, you know, you've made really clear changes like going digital, which of course is the way to go in this market. I think that's a part of your story, right? So never hesitate to apply. And I think Wingee, there's no shame in if you apply 1 year and you don't get through and you can apply another year. So don't self-select out, and always err on the side of being more assertive, more ambitious, and more confident.
Well said, yes. And in fact, actually, many of our fellows, it's their second application that makes them into the program. And so just as Dimple says, you'll receive some feedback. You know, maybe in the first edition, you may not come up as top in terms of the traction you have built or maybe the impact that you have realized. But perhaps in the next edition, then you'll have sort of more experience around that. Tracy, did your business also pivot during the time frame of the program, or has it stayed pretty much the same? Or what would you say? I mean, with this, it seems like we have a recurring theme amongst women entrepreneurs asking this question. So any advice you have for them?
Well, it's interesting. We didn't pivot direction. You know, we've actually never wavered from what we were trying to do. How we are getting there has definitely been tailored, and how we engage with our market. The overwhelming, I mean, there's probably three things I would point to, but the overwhelming takeaway for me from the program was, you know, now we boldly state our impact at the center of our sales pitches. And we weren't doing that. We're selling to very senior people in large multinationals. And whilst the impact mattered enormously to me, I'd felt that perhaps maybe the businesses were a little bit more motivated by the cost savings from what we do, from the operational resilience, from some of the other benefits, employee wellness. And I was saying, oh, and it's good for the environment. And, you know, I guess one of the things I got from my coach was just, you know, believe that your impact matters. And it also made me realize that the CEOs I want to attract are the ones who also share my belief that impact matters. So now we state our impact. You know, I go into every sales pitch and I say, we are a commercial venture with our social purpose. And, you know, and our purpose is climate action, and we can help you do more. And that I'm leading with that. And, you know, that just felt so right. It was lovely. It just felt so much more authentic. And I think I had been sort of not believing that everybody shared that view. Now, what has happened is the market has shifted, you know, phenomenally since we founded the business a few years ago. Since I founded the business, I brought in a few co-founders then with me. But now I think the importance of climate action is being more understood. So there was a market shift at the same time. But you know what, even without that market shift, I would say to people, you know, boldly state who you are and what you're about, and you would then probably attract the right customers. And if you're not able to do that, maybe they're not the right customers for you. You know, so that was a huge shift. And one that just felt so good, you know.
Wow. The power of authenticity.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
All right, we have a question from Noreen, and she says, my business is all about interior contracting work, and our business has been running for 2 years with low revenue and impact, but on the third year, we're expecting good revenue along with good impact for repeat business. Since a total of 3, only 2 years are non-profitable, but the last year is quite promising. Does that still make me eligible to apply? Dimple, what do you think based on this revenue and impact pattern, I guess, if you will, for Noreen?
You know, I mean, I guess it's trending in the right direction. You've gone from low revenue and low impact to good revenue and good impact. But again, it's about, I don't know what the magnitude of that revenue is, right? So did you go from 10,000 to 100,000, or did you just go from 10,000 to 50,000? So, I mean, what is the magnitude of what does good mean and what does low mean? So I think calibrating that is really important. And then again, low impact to good impact. Whether, you know, low and high is different than low and good. So I think calibrating and describing both the types of revenues and the magnitude as well as the impact is really important. I think non-profitable is less of an issue because, as we know, most tech companies are not profitable, but they have revenue. So again, if there's a good story for why you're making revenue but you're not profitable, and that could be because you're going for scale and growth more than cash flow positive, you know, those are things that are all understandable in terms of a startup business. So it's really about how you tell your story. And once again, you know, be brave, be bold, and apply. And the market and the CWI staff will tell you if you're ineligible, if you don't meet the revenue requirements. I think that was pretty clear on the previous slides.
Yeah.
And I think if you're also probably on the cusp, so if you're close to the minimum revenue but not quite there, I mean, I'm guessing there's some human interpretation and calibration that also happens, you know, so I don't think it's black and white per se, but Wingee, I will let you answer that.
Yeah, so I think for Noreen, I think your business is eligible to apply for sure. I think what Dimple is describing is sort of the selection evaluation criteria. And so for us, the requirement is really just 1 year of revenue, but we don't specify actually the level, knowing that actually different types of business have, and in different regions have of course, different revenue levels, if that makes sense. And so we would encourage you to apply. And I think, just as Dimple say, your business seems to be going through the right trajectory. And as you are now in, I guess it sounds like maybe the 3rd year of your business, and we have your business has been in operation for 1 to 5 year requirement. I think this year may be a good year to apply, you know, in case you want to give it another try also the subsequent year. You know, so yeah, but I think that this year or next year would probably be a great idea. All right, we have a question from anonymous. The questions are skipping a bit. Oh, anonymous attendee. If a tech company which is in early stage of research and data collection, which usually takes longer time and it is an expensive process, and the revenue stream is yet to be materialized, does this impact the application process? And if no, in that case, what other criteria matter? And so I actually, for this question, I think it's important to emphasize that for the, if you were applying under the Science and Technology Pioneer Awards, then it sounds like actually your business is exactly sort of what the awards is looking for, which is you know, someone who's working in technology that is in deep tech and that requires years of extensive research, and also commercialization is a long time frame and expensive. And so we don't have a revenue requirement for that award specifically. But if you were someone who is more in the regional award category, then I would say you as part of the eligibility criteria, you need to wait until you have at least 1 year of revenue before you apply. Here we have a question from Nazita. So Nazita is asking us, I have no business experience and started the social enterprise driven by the desire to create positive impact for the stay-at-home mothers we work with. It has taken me 4 years to learn how to run a business. We create custom corporate products grounded by sustainable craftsmanship. I'm a founding partner, but am operating as a solo founder as she has a full-time job. Her current role is that of an advisor. How do these factors affect my application? You know what, maybe we start with Tracy. Tracy, I think in the fellowship program, you had the chance to meet other founders who were not from a business background. What advice might you have for Nazita?
Oh gosh, well, I mean, she sounds like she meets the criteria. There were plenty of people who were, you know, co-founders, you know, as well, and you know, some working full time, some not. you know, what matters, like, there's always, everybody brings circumstances, you know, and nobody is starting from an ideal position one way or another. You're either too old or too young, or too little of this or too much of that. So focus on actually what makes you right, not what makes you wrong. And particularly, you know, why does this matter to you? And you know, I mean, there's so many success stories. If somebody had done this before, it wouldn't be interesting. Everybody's on a journey, and just people are bringing different, you know, skills and attributes and experience. As you progress, what you need will show up. In terms of other people, you know, or skill sets that you need to learn yourself. Successful businesses are built with a whole range of skills, and the founder themselves doesn't need to have all of those skills, but the founder needs to know when, you know, to go and get those skills in some form or other. So whether you're hiring the skills or whether you just have an advisor. And one of the things that I've been blown away by, you know, in my career, and you know, I'm probably one of the older entrepreneurs, so in my career I've been helping everybody else for years, and then suddenly I'm the one asking people for help, and I've been blown away with people's generosity of time, generosity of spirit. So the things you need to move forward will show up, and you don't have to be ticking all the boxes and have everything, but what you do need to do is have a sense of, as the business evolves, what do I need at this time, and then how am I going to look for that, whether it's sort of informal advice or a new hire or whatever. But you know, you can absolutely build a very exciting global business, you know, from your home and with a partner who's working. Absolutely. You just start building in the right direction from where you are. So and the very best of luck with this. It sounds exciting.
Well, thank you, Tracy. I love that. Yeah, just to show up where you are. That's fantastic. Dimple, any thoughts around this question? And I suppose it relates specifically to one of the selection criteria of the founding team and character of the founders, and then maybe their background. So maybe you can share with us a bit about your thoughts on how you think about that selection criteria, and maybe some cases that you think of in the past.
I would just say it's really important to regardless of title, it's really important to share how your co-founder is still participating and contributing to the business. If they're full-time, if they're an advisor, that's less important. It's about value add. So we know people have flexible lives, and again, it's a very dynamic world right now, so everyone's having to juggle a lot of different roles. But I think it's better to not present yourself as a solo founder, because we don't want to just bet on one person. We want to bet on at least two people. So having a founding team, if that's inclusive of your advisor, that's really important. It's less, again, about the title. It's more about what they're still contributing, even if they're going through a more passive phase at this point.
Thank you. And it looks like we have our last question for the hour. And it's a wonderful question for closing from Margot. So she asked us, what has been the theme, or if there's any, in terms of the deciding factors in the woman who has been chosen to be part of the fellowship? Maybe we can start with Tracy first. You can share a bit about what you feel you have in common with the rest of the fellowship class.
Oh gosh, that's such a challenging question, because I think what struck me was more the diversity rather than the commonality. But I think it's women who are daring to do something different. There was just a gorgeous. And I was obviously in the Europe region, and you know, we just had this, well, with all of the girls, I think we've built up a really strong support community. But even in Europe, who, you know, arguably, you know, you could say that we were both all vying for the final award, it never felt like that. There was an enormous sense of collaboration and support. So I think in terms of it, it probably does come back to values. The women who deeply believe in the purpose of what they're doing first and foremost, and who for me, a huge motivator in choosing to apply was the opportunity to connect with women globally and to tap into that diversity of thought, of background, because that's what stretches your thinking, and that community was a huge part of, say for me. So the values, purpose, but really, you know, the diversity was what made it so fantastic. And even you could nearly see different themes coming from the different continents almost, you know, and that just made it so much richer for me. So.
Oh, great. And Dimple, what do you think, based on what you have seen so far in the program? Has there been any theme and deciding factors in sort of who ultimately is part of the fellowship program? And yeah.
No, I can't. I mean, again, it's my first year, so I think I'll be able to draw trend lines myself the more I do it. But I think this was a very unusual year because of how we all had to pivot mid-process, and how none of the interactions were in person. So again, I think the people who had a combination of a written application and a verbal conviction around how they presented, I think that the people that won were strong in both dimensions. And that became increasingly more clear because how you present in a virtual environment also is a technique. So I would encourage all of you, if you have video submissions, if you're practicing pitching on a Zoom call, I mean, this is going to become the new normal in a lot of ways. So I think a lot of things that people took for granted in an offline world, you can't afford to take for granted. So I would say the common theme is that people were able to present well throughout a full virtual process, because that was unique to this year. But I would also say that jury deliberations are very unique. I mean, Wingee was involved in ours. So, when the numbers were calculated, we had one winner, but after we deliberated, we had a different winner. And so I think, it's also, the jury is a variable, right? Because any given day, people bring different to the businesses. But yeah, just practice pitching. I would say that's as important as the written application.
Wingee, may I make a further comment? Actually, I thought it was a superb application form. It was quite very comprehensive, but forced you to be so concise. And I actually think that's a brilliant challenge, because it forces great clarity of thought. And I do think, certainly in my business, we had reached probably a point of good clarity around probably the key dimensions, and that helps. But I think it's a brilliant discipline to just force that. So don't, take the time over the application form. And some of the questions are really challenging, and they're a mixture of about your business, but also about you personally, which comes back to the point about being authentic. What is driving you, what's telling your story. And for me, I had to go up to the mountain for a walk to make sure that really came out from my inner core. So take the time over that, a little bit of self-reflection, and just really that clarity, get it down on paper, and then it also needs to be delivered, verbally as well. So important, and it's worth spending the time. And for us, it had a good outcome in our case. So definitely take that approach.
Great. Well, it sounds like we're at the hour. So thank you so much, Dimple and Tracy, for all of your time today and and being part of the community. We are so grateful to have you. And thank you for sharing your insight, both as a perspective of a jury member, as well as a fellow, as part of our program. And thank you for all the amazing work you both are doing for the world.
Thank you, Wingee. It was fun to participate. Good luck, everyone.
Yes. Good luck, everyone. We look forward to seeing your application and staying in touch.
Yes, same. I just thrilled to be part of this group, and well done everybody who's on the call, who's working hard on your own businesses, and again, wishing you the very, very best of luck, and go for it.
Great, fantastic. Well, thank you, and thank you for Impact Hub for hosting this Ask Me Anything session and inviting all of your community members. We are super thrilled to have your support from Spain and Portugal, and we hope that many new applicants come through.
Thank you.
Thank you.